In a main tank matchup between the Boston Uprising and the Seoul Dynasty, the first map on Nepal was all Boston, taking it with vigor and force. Easily they captured the shrine and held it for nearly 70% before the Dynasty came back to flip the point. However, their hold was soon broken. A huge play from Note, his self-destruct killing 3 people, and Note following it up with another solo. From there, it was waiting to get to 100%. Easily, Boston took the first round. The second point entered the same territory. With the Uprising taking the first point, they rarely bent to let it go. A last-minute play from the Dynasty allowed them to take the point back at 99%, with credit to Min-Hook, Michelle, Choi, and a massive diva play. Michelle then repeated the play, causing Boston to falter at the end of the round. With the Uprising unable to touch, Seoul took that round. The third round started in Boston's favor. With the double kill to start the amp from support Christian Kellix Keller, Boston took the point easily. With point capture charged to 61%, Seoul managed to flip it back in their favor. However, Boston wasn't going down without a fight. Cameron Fusion's Bosworth landed a shatter that caused Boston to take the point back, even if it was just momentarily. At 99% to Seoul, Fusions once again pushed the Dynasty off the point. From then on, it was coming up Boston. The Uprising won the match 2-1. With Boston on the attack first on Numbani, they wasted no time in jumping on the point. Though they lost their supports early in the fight, Fusions and Kelsey Colorhex bursts didn't let it stop them. Capturing the point, they continued to push the payload with ease. Despite a quick halt just short of the second point, the team banded together for a wipe. A capture of the second point then quickly followed. With particularly impressive gameplay from Min Sunk, Aim God, Jeff Kwan, the Boston Uprising went on to complete the map. When the tables were turned, Seoul turned to a strategy that's proven well for other teams. Switching to a Farah and Mercy combo as well as a Sombra, they dominated the map. The point was captured with ease, and though Boston held their own and managed to stall out the completion of the map, it was inevitable. Seoul finished with just a little more time in their bank. With just under a minute to get the first point, Boston won the fight. They captured the point and stayed with it, winning team fights to hold Seoul back. Being in overtime, they needed to stick to the cart in order to gain progress. Managing to win multiple fights, Boston nearly completed the map in overtime. Seoul brought out their offensive composition once more, making it hard for Boston to challenge the Farah and Mercy combination. However, Boston still had something to prove. With just around the bend, after capturing the point, the Uprising pushed Seoul back. In the end, the Uprising won Numbani on a score of 5-4. Being 2 up at the half, Boston didn't waste any time in trying to secure a series win on Anubis. Immediately, they charged the first point, steamrolling their way into a first point capture. Getting the second point proved a little harder, as Anubis tends to be. As fights were failing for Boston, Fusions finally had enough. A huge shatter earned him 3 eliminations, and Boston swooped in to clean the rest up. A double point capture was secured. However, with the sides flipped, Seoul knew what to do. With more time, they steamrolled both points with ease. With how quickly they completed the map, the time bank played in their favor in overtime. Boston got to attack again first, given their smaller time bank. However, that didn't stop them from going all in. Jeffrey Blase sang led the pack with a double kill on Brigitte, opening up the point and allowing Boston to stay in the fight. Unfortunately, they couldn't hold their momentum and came up shy of earning the second point. With Seoul on the attack, Boston did their best to hold them back. For a while, they succeeded, winning team fights back to back. However, another massive diva bomb from Michelle caused Boston to falter. From there, the steamroll began, and Boston ended up losing the match on Anubis 4-3. For the last map, Boston decided to switch things up. Allowing Colorhex to play his specialist character Sombra, they gave a more aggressive approach to goats. It worked for the first point and nearly all of the second push. However, with Seoul being able to shut down their advances, Boston switched back to a normalized goats composition. With Fusion shutting down a last-minute shatter from Changhyun Fisher Bay, Boston was able to complete the map. Seoul had a hard time breaking through the Uprising's defense though. Time and time again, Boston would win the team fights. However, in overtime, Byung-sung Fleta Kim pulled out enough high-energy kills to secure them the first point. Once again, the Dynasty found it hard to push through their defenses until overtime. However, at the end of the road, the Uprising found their fuel. Holding them back, the team banded together to ensure that the Dynasty did not get to touch the payload. With huge final plays from note, the Uprising managed to keep them at bay. They ended up winning on Route 66, 3-2. What a comeback. After suffering a crushing defeat last week against Shanghai, it's amazing to see the Uprising come back with such vigor and high spirits. They went into this game with something to prove, and they certainly proved it. This playstyle should continue on to Sunday, where they face even more fearsome opponents. Though it can't be said whether or not they'll lose against the Defiant, it can be said that they'll certainly give Toronto a run for their money. The Boston Uprising defeated the Seoul Dynasty on a score of 3-1.